the oldest temple of Cyprus. On the island of Cyprus, a stunning discovery has transformed what we know about the ancient civilizations that once flourished here. When scientists from the University of Siena excavated an ancient craft complex, they unexpectedly uncovered a ceremonial chamber, evidence suggesting that this site could be the oldest temple ever found on the island, dating back as far as 4,000 years. The ceremonial chamber was once a vast hall, its center dominated by a towering monolithic stone nearly 8 feet high. Mysterious circular motifs were carved across the surface of this stone. Today, the temple stands in ruins. There is no roof, no walls. Everything archaeologists have found had to be unearthed from beneath the ground. The monolith itself no longer stands upright. Instead, it has broken into several fragments, each of which researchers are now carefully studying piece by piece. The room containing the monolith appeared to hold nothing else. It was a sacred, empty space with only the solitary stone at its center. At the foot of the monolith, archaeologists found a shattered vessel and the remnants of a fire pit, all silent witnesses to ancient rituals. The fire may once have burned brightly during ceremonial offerings, while the vessel could have held something important, or perhaps even mysterious, to be presented as tribute. In ages past, people might have danced, sung, or even circled the stone like sorcerers leaping around a bonfire on Halloween night. This discovery is especially valuable, as our understanding of Bronze Age culture in Cyprus remains extremely limited. No one knows the meaning of the symbols carved into the stone, nor does anyone fully understand the ceremonies that once took place inside this temple. All of it remains a mystery waiting to be revealed. The ghost lineage. When researchers analyzed the genomes of West African populations, they compared them to those of Neanderthals and Denisovans, two ancient human species related to our own common ancestors. Scientists at UCLA uncovered genetic variations never seen before. These differences matched neither the genomes of modern humans nor those of Denisovans or Neanderthals. This genetic variation appeared in several groups, including the Yoruba people of Nigeria and the Mende of Sierra Leone, making up anywhere from 2 to 19% of their genetic makeup. Scientists believe this ghost lineage split from humanity's common ancestor long before modern humans separated from the Denisovans and Neanderthals about 800,000 years ago. This lineage evolved separately for hundreds of thousands of years. Then, around 50,000 years ago, this mysterious branch interbred with the ancestors of modern Homo sapiens, evidence that, while our ancestors were mixing with Denisovans and Neanderthals, some individuals were also mating with these ghost humans. Research is still underway to shed light on the identity of these ancient, enigmatic ancestors. The Egyptians and Marge Simpson. If you've never seen it before, this is one of the most unbelievable mysteries. In Egypt, archaeologists discovered what might be the strangest coffin ever unearthed. Some 3,500 years ago, someone painted a life-sized image of Marge Simpson on the inside lid of a coffin. The resemblance between the famous cartoon character and the image found on this ancient coffin is almost impossible to believe. When archaeologists opened the coffin and looked at the underside of the lid, they were stunned. The image was of a woman with yellow skin, dressed in a green gown, and with a tall, rectangular blue hairstyle. She looked exactly like Marge Simpson. Did the Egyptians once worship Marge, or did they somehow predict the arrival of an iconic animated television show? The answer to both, of course, is no. Setting aside the bizarre coincidence, experts say the image on the coffin actually depicts a woman crossing into the afterlife. Egyptologists even know her name. She was Tadiest, the daughter of a high priest. Her coffin and remains were unearthed in 2023, with her mummy still in excellent condition, wearing a traditional burial mask and a beaded gown. The Marge Simpson look-alike was placed between 6 female priestesses, standing on either side, each representing one of the 12 hours of the day. Tadiest was not alone in the earth below. Beside her was another coffin, belonging to Nani, a temple singer dedicated to the god Jehudi, who likely once performed sacred songs in the temple. That was not all. Archaeologists also found a papyrus scroll about 60 feet long buried with the two women. This scroll appears to be related to the Book of the Dead, an ancient guide meant to help the deceased journey through the afterlife. Thanks to these texts, researchers have gained deeper insight into Egyptian beliefs about the world beyond death. The death of General Patton. On December 21, 1945, General George S. Patton, nicknamed Old Blood and Guts, died unexpectedly, just weeks before the year came to a close. That day, he was riding in a Cadillac limousine when the car collided with a military truck. The two other passengers were completely unharmed, but Patton suffered a severe head injury. He was taken to a military hospital, where he remained for 12 days, gradually recovering. The doctors even believed he was well enough to fly back to the United States. Then, just as all signs pointed to a full recovery, the general died suddenly. No autopsy was ever performed. His death was ruled an accident, and the case was closed. That is, until 1979, when an American spy named Douglas Bazata unexpectedly claimed that he had assassinated Patton on the orders of the Office of Strategic Services, OSS. The mission, make it look like an accident. According to official reports, there were several suspicious details about the crash. 19-year-old driver Horace Woodring was driving on a deserted road when a truck suddenly swerved off the shoulder, made a sharp turn, and slammed into the limousine. Horace said the impact was aimed directly at General Patton, leaving him paralyzed from the neck down. Douglas Bazata later stated that, after realizing Patton had survived, he poisoned the general in the hospital. While no concrete evidence was ever produced, the death of General Patton remains one of the unresolved mysteries of World War II. The Nazi Bell. During World War II, rumors spread that the Nazis were secretly developing a device known as Die Glock, which means the bell. This bizarre machine was said to resemble a massive bell, constructed using the most advanced technology of its time. According to multiple reports, the bell stood over 10 feet tall, had a gleaming metallic surface, and, when activated, emitted a mysterious blue glow. Its rumored purpose? Time travel, and defying the force of gravity. The bell was supposedly part of Nazi Germany's occult science program. Their aim? To bend the fabric of space, open new dimensions, or even access alien technology. This device was believed to have been tested in an underground facility called Der Riese, hidden deep within Poland's Owl Mountains. Many of the scientists involved are said to have died under mysterious circumstances, and the device itself vanished after the war. Some believe it was secretly transported to South America or Antarctica. Others claim the Allies seized it and continued top-secret experiments in the United States. Though there is no definitive proof, the legend of the Nazi bell has persisted in modern folklore as one of the most captivating mysteries of lost technology and wartime conspiracy. The Garden of Eden. Kahane, a mysterious archaeological site hidden among the rugged mountains of Turkey's Şanlıurfa province, has long left researchers in awe. This place is not far from the more famous site of Göbekli Tepe, but its true claim to fame is its staggering age, estimated to be around 11,400 years old. Some believe it may have once served as the real-life inspiration for the legendary Garden of Eden. With an age far surpassing most human settlements ever discovered, Kahane can be considered one of humanity's earliest inhabited places, a cradle of paradise. No one has ever agreed on the exact time Adam and Eve might have lived in the Garden of Eden, but 12,000 years ago seems as plausible a guess as any. It's easy to imagine Adam resting beside these ancient stones, while Eve pondered the forbidden fruit. Yet, the site seems far too vast for just two people to have built. If Adam and Eve ever existed here, their descendants must surely have played a part in raising these structures. The main area resembles an open-air temple, about 75 feet across, encircled by 18 towering stone pillars. Some of these columns were carved directly from the bedrock, a feat no two people could possibly achieve alone. While scientists are tempted to call Kahane a temple, the truth is, no one knows for sure what it was built for. Kahane predates all known constructions from any other culture in human history. At that time, Egypt had not yet been founded. It would not rise from the Sahara for another 6,000 years, until about 3100 BCE. Kahane is even twice as old as Stonehenge. No one can say for certain if this place truly was a temple. Inside the site stand strange statues, including a massive stone carved to resemble a phallic symbol. There is also a statue of a naked man nearly 8 feet tall, along with figures of wild animals. Archaeologists believe Kahane, together with Göbekli Tepe, were ceremonial centers of a fertility cult. The statue's emphasis on fertility and human forms are thought to represent the power of creation and abundance. Many experts have suggested that women once made pilgrimages here in hopes of increasing their fertility. It's an intriguing hypothesis, but is it true? Another theory proposes that Kahane was built gradually, beginning 13,000 years ago, and was used for solstice rituals. Different tribes returned year after year to celebrate, feast, dance, and take part in shamanistic ceremonies. Perhaps the strangest detail is that archaeologists have never found any houses or cities dating from the same period as Kahane. The idea that hunter-gatherers, who never built a single home, could have erected not one but two immense stone temples seems almost impossible. Why build temples before building villages or houses? It's a question that defies easy answers. Some even link Kahane to the Anunnaki gods of ancient Sumer. According to Sumerian texts, the Anunnaki came from a place called Duku, or the Sacred Mound. It was there that humans first received the gift of grain and learned to domesticate animals. Could this mysterious Duku be Kahane and also the true Garden of Eden? Is it possible that all ancient myths speak of the same place? It almost feels as if this site was the true starting point, where humanity first set foot on Earth, guided by the gods. The world beneath the ice. In the 1690s, English astronomer Edmund Halley, whose name lives on in Halley's Comet, presented a radical hypothesis to the Royal Society in London. Halley did not believe that the Earth was a solid sphere. Instead, he pictured it as a hollow machine spinning around a central core. Halley proposed that the Earth was made up of multiple shells, each containing its own unique ecosystem. If humans could drill deep enough into the ground, he said, they would discover a completely different world hidden beneath the surface. When critics argued that life could not survive underground without sunlight, Halley simply smiled. He claimed that the spaces between these shells contained a naturally glowing atmosphere, sufficient to sustain plants, animals, and all manner of life. Today, such ideas would be laughed out of any scientific forum, but in the late 17th century, some scientists saw it as a stroke of genius. The hollow Earth theory exploded in popularity, and by the 1820s, American researcher John Sims even declared that entrances to the hollow Earth could be found at the North and South Poles. Even now, some believe that somewhere between the Arctic and Antarctic, hidden tunnels lead down to a secret world beneath our feet, the mysterious stone circle beneath the Sea of Galilee. In Israel, scientists once discovered a mysterious circular structure beneath the waters of the Sea of Galilee, roughly the size of a Boeing 747. Isolated in the middle of the lake, this formation was first detected in 2003 during a geological sonar survey. Researchers noticed a large man-made mound rising from the otherwise flat lakebed. The structure is built from basalt stones, over 230 feet in diameter and about 32 feet high. Its estimated weight is 50,000 tons, twice that of Stonehenge in England. Once its archaeological significance became clear, scientists dove down to study it directly. Yet even after years of exploration and excavation, the origins of this monument remain a mystery. Some speculate it was once an underwater fish nursery, allowing ancient people to raise fish year-round. However, experts like geophysicist Shmuel Marco believe the structure may have originally stood on dry land, only to be submerged when the lake rose. It might have been a temple, or even an ancient settlement. No one really knows. Even its true age is debated. Some theories put it at 2,000 years old, others at up to 12,000. The mysterious Gunjiwamp site in Connecticut. Deep within the forests of Connecticut, the Gunjiwamp site still preserves traces of a forgotten past. This area was once home to woodland-era Native Americans, and later, to European settlers during the colonial period. Remnants of stone houses, cellars, and root cellars are still scattered across the ground. Archaeologists have also found numerous native artifacts, such as stone tools and pottery fragments. The discoveries at Gunjiwamp are nothing new. Back in November of 1654, settler John Pynchon recorded seeing a network of stone walls and ruined structures in the forest. At the time, Native Americans were still building massive wooden fortresses across Connecticut, but today, those are long gone, leaving only Gunjiwamp's stone walls standing against the passage of time. Here, there are also underground stone chambers, crumbling retaining walls, enigmatic stone bridges, and standing stones with unknown purposes. Yet all of this remains a great mystery, as no formal archaeological project has ever taken place. No one has restored, excavated, or protected this place. Wind, rain, and time have battered Gunjiwamp, leaving its secrets unsolved. No one knows which tribe lived here, how long the structures have stood, or why the people vanished. Perhaps sites like this need to be preserved before all trace of them is lost forever. The submarine, USS Grunion. On April 11, 1942, the United States Navy officially commissioned the submarine, USS Grunion. Just 1 month later, the vessel had already proven its worth by rescuing 16 survivors from the USAT Jack after it was torpedoed by German forces. By June, the Grunion embarked on its first patrol and engaged a Japanese destroyer in a fierce battle, escaping only by the narrowest of margins. Over the following month, the Grunion continued to fight, sinking 2 anti-submarine ships and damaging another. But then, something strange happened. During an attack, the Grunion sustained minor damage and was ordered to return to base at Dutch Harbor. After sending one last signal, the submarine simply vanished. There was no further contact, no trace. The US military launched an air search, but found nothing. On October 5, 1942, the Navy declared the Grunion missing, and all crew members were presumed lost. It was not until 2007 that the wreck of the submarine was finally discovered beneath the Bering Sea. A year later, the Navy officially confirmed the vessel's identity, even with photographs and video of the wreck. The true reason why the Grunion sank remains an unsolved mystery: the return of the mysterious monoliths. The mysterious monoliths have returned. The last time this topic made headlines was in April of 2024, when a giant metal pillar appeared in Wales. But this time, it's not just one, there are 2 new monoliths. Back in 2020, many people still remember the sudden wave of metal monoliths discovered around the world. First in Utah, then Romania, followed by California, Spain, Wales, and Paraguay. They looked like something straight out of a movie set. These strange pillars were shiny metal columns, mysterious obelisks standing in the wilderness, with no explanation, no warning, and no one taking credit. It was impossible not to think of the enigmatic monolith from the opening of 2001, A Space Odyssey. Truth be told, these objects looked like the work of aliens, or at least props from a science fiction film. They seemed almost like colossal glass towers built by extraterrestrials, just as you might see in the movies. The strangest part of the 2020 mystery is that it was never solved. Someone once claimed responsibility, but no one could verify if they were truly behind it. And then, just as the world began to forget about the monoliths, they suddenly reappeared. A new monolith was just discovered on June 17th, outside Las Vegas, near Gas Peak in the Desert National Wildlife Refuge. For those unfamiliar with the area, it's located north of the famous Las Vegas Strip. According to a statement from the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, they have no idea who installed the new monolith or how it ended up there. They released photos and some measurements, but offered no explanation. According to the police, the monolith stood about 6 feet 5 inches tall and was more than a foot wide. 4 days after its discovery, police removed the monolith and are now keeping it at an undisclosed location. The reasons for taking it away, rather than simply leaving it, remain unclear, but that is how things ended. Another monolith has appeared, this time in northern Colorado. It's big, shiny, and just as strange, located 75 miles north of Denver, on land owned by Lori Graves, who runs the Howling Cow Cafe in Bellevue. This new monolith is even larger than the one in Vegas, about 8 feet tall and roughly 4 feet wide, according to Lori Graves' statements to local media. If anyone could easily haul such a monolith to the top of that remote hill, it would have to be aliens. The object is not only large, but also heavy and incredibly unwieldy. So, what exactly is happening here? Is this a prank, a work of art, or truly a sign from extraterrestrials, just as so many people have speculated? Everyone seems to have their own theory. And now, a quick break to thank Nikolaya Steele and Ilal Productions for supporting and standing by the channel. Wishing everyone a wonderful day or evening, wherever you are. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to hit that button so you won't miss any of the exciting videos coming soon. The shockingly accurate medieval map. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and share what you'd like to explore in upcoming videos. In the earliest days of cartography, most maps were wildly inaccurate, sometimes so distorted they were barely recognizable. This is why historians are so puzzled by a 13th century map of the Mediterranean, drawn on leather that's so precise modern ships could still use it for navigation. Journalist Julie Raymeyer wrote in Discover magazine in 2018, "Looking at this map, you'd think someone in the Middle Ages must have flown above the earth to chart it all. Though, in reality, no one ever got higher than the church bell tower. Imagine humanity's view limited by such humble heights." This artifact is known as the first portolan chart, a kind of nautical map that first appeared in the 13th century, originally charting only the Mediterranean, but later expanding to other regions. Its arrival marked a turning point in navigation, as sailors could, for the first time, accurately plan their journeys rather than inching along the coast in short hops. The creator of this first portolan chart left few clues about his methods. No one knows exactly how he drew it, and no drafts or notes have survived, deepening the mystery for modern researchers. John Hessler, a modern map expert at the Library of Congress, has partly unraveled the puzzle through mathematics, tracing the steps ancient cartographers might have used. After years of study, Hessler believes medieval mapmakers relied on a combination of measurements, formulas, and compass directions to create the skeleton of the map. Of course, portolan charts aren't without flaws. Projecting the Earth's curved surface onto a flat sheet inevitably led to distortions, but by the standards of the time, these maps were nothing short of miraculous. And although researchers now have some idea of how they were made, the exact recipe remains a secret. The quest for immortality. In Shaanxi province, China, archaeologists have detected mercury at the bottom of a vast megalithic structure. This is proof that the ancients possessed technologies far beyond what we once imagined. Shaanxi is best known for its legendary terracotta army, 8,000 life-sized clay soldiers, buried deep within one of the world's largest underground complexes. The tomb of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor to unify China, far surpasses the pyramid of the feathered serpent in scale. The mausoleum was built as an inverted pyramid, with its point facing downward instead of up. Imagine flipping the Great Pyramid of Giza upside down, and you have the idea of what lies beneath China. And at the bottom of that pyramid is a lake of liquid mercury. The most important historical record of the Qin dynasty comes from Sima Qian, the famous Han Dynasty historian. In his Records of the Grand Historian, He wrote that Qin Shi Huang was born in 259 BCE, inherited the throne at age 13, and unified China, ending the Warring States period in 221 BCE. Qin Shi Huang ordered a series of massive walls to protect the northern frontier. These would eventually become the Great Wall of China. He also established a national road system, reformed the economy and government, and, most notably, pursued immortality. Everything might have seemed normal if not for that final detail. The emperor believed the secret to eternal life could be found and poured all his resources into seeking it. He sent emissaries across the seas in search of mythical lands and legendary sages, and commissioned his finest alchemists to craft the Philosopher's Stone. His pursuit of immortality ultimately led him to drink mercury, ironically, the very substance that poisoned and killed him, according to historians. Upon his death, Qin Shi Huang was entombed in a massive necropolis. The project took 38 years and 700,000 workers to complete. Compared to the Great Pyramid of Giza, which the Greek historian Herodotus claimed was built in just 20 years, the mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang is a true wonder. Today, the tomb still lies beneath a truncated earthen pyramid. It once stood 226 feet high, but erosion has reduced it to about 150 feet, and it is surrounded by colossal walls, though some are now damaged. Excavations have revealed a wealth of strange relics, not just the terracotta army, but also clay musicians, acrobats, and officials, more than 100 wooden chariots, and rivers of liquid mercury flowing around the tomb. Deep within lies a burial chamber that has never been opened, believed to contain the emperor's remains. The Chinese government has decreed that this final resting place will remain undisturbed. For centuries, the mausoleum has lain silent and untouched beneath the earth, the holy foreskin ring. There exists an artifact so shocking that it's venerated as one of the most sacred relics in the world, worshipped by millions as a genuine possession of Jesus Christ. Yet, the more one learns, the more incredible and even unsettling the story becomes. Saint Catherine of Siena was born during one of the darkest periods in European history. She came into the world on March 25, 1347, at the height of the Black Death. Half of her siblings died young, and even Catherine's twin sister didn't survive the plague. When she was 16, another sister died. That sister's husband became a widower, and as was common in medieval times, Catherine's parents wanted her to marry him in her sister's place. Grieving and horrified by the prospect, Catherine turned to religion for escape. She cut her hair, fasted, and joined the Dominican Third Order. For women who joined a religious order, marriage was no longer required, and thus, Catherine was spared an arranged union with her brother-in-law. By age 21, Catherine began having strange religious experiences. She claimed to have entered into a mystical marriage with Christ. According to her, Jesus himself appeared and placed a jeweled ring made from his own foreskin on her finger. That's certainly a bizarre proposal, even for the Son of God. Here, madam, please accept this precious ring, crafted from my foreskin. Will you marry me? No one knows if Catherine ever actually wore the ring, but the story became a lasting legend of Christian tradition. Believers refer to it as the Holy Foreskin, one of the strangest relics ever associated with the Savior. Catherine continued to have mystical experiences throughout her life, most of which were less macabre than her holy marriage. She believed she was called to help the poor and sick, participated in political affairs, became involved in the Crusades, and was credited with saving many souls along her spiritual journey. In 1377, Catherine founded a convent for women and died in 1380 after a stroke. Throughout her life, it was said she always wore the precious ring made from the foreskin of Christ. The ancient gold coin in Canada. On the southern coast of Newfoundland, Canada, an ancient gold coin has just been discovered, possibly the oldest coin ever found in the region. According to local archaeologist Jamie Brake, the coin is around 600 years old, meaning it predates any officially recorded European contact with the Americas, not counting the much earlier Viking expeditions. No one can yet explain how the coin ended up here. The discoverer was Edward Hines, but the exact location is being kept secret to prevent looting. The coin was minted in London sometime between 1422 and 1427 and had a value of 1 shilling and 8 pence. It was created 70 years before John Cabot landed in Newfoundland in 1497. Still, no one knows for sure whether the coin arrived before Cabot or belonged to someone who came later. Another possibility is that the coin remained in circulation for over a century before being lost, a common occurrence in the 15th century. But it could also be the final remnant of a long-forgotten expedition belonging to an explorer lost to history. Mysterious metal from the Roswell UFO crash site. A geologist has uncovered a mysterious metal at the site of the Roswell UFO crash in New Mexico, a discovery that could change everything we thought we knew. Even now, the most famous UFO incident in American history continues to produce evidence that stretches the limits of belief. The Roswell incident took place in 1947. News spread rapidly around the globe when the United States Army Air Forces issued an official press release admitting they had recovered debris from a flying disc. It was a stunning announcement. The military had publicly claimed to have found the remains of an unidentified flying object. But only shortly afterward, they walked back their statement. The military revised its claim, changing flying disc to weather balloon. Entend of the screed, it still matter. Since then, people have always questioned what really happened in the New Mexico desert that year. While many skeptics dismissed believers as conspiracy theorists, not all of them fit that description. In fact, many were scientists like geologist Frank Kimbler. Frank has spent much of his time searching for metal fragments around the Roswell area using a metal detector. For nearly all of the time since 2010, he has quietly combed the desert, looking for unusual pieces of material. He has collected over 20 fragments of mysterious metal, most of them no larger than tiny shards. Usually, Frank keeps these metal pieces to himself, but his latest find compelled him to investigate further. He sent a sample off for testing. Lab results confirmed that the metal fragment was 100% pure aluminum. According to experts, this is compelling evidence supporting the theory that an alien spacecraft once crashed in the area. Chrissy Newton, a well-known UFO investigator who usually tries to debunk extraterrestrial claims, has even acknowledged this as a major discovery. Pure aluminum has been linked to multiple UFO crash sites around the world. Chrissy Newton also has a source at the Pentagon, someone who worked with the US military's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. These are high-level insiders who have, to some extent, confirmed that pure aluminum really does come from alien craft. Where could this discovery lead us next? A crucial link, the feathered serpent god. There's a key point to note. In Aztec mythology, there is a great deity named Quetzalcoatl, also known as the feathered serpent. This god was seen as a dragon, a divine being of limitless power. The Aztecs believed that the Pyramid of the Feathered Serpent, the mercury-filled pyramid at Teotihuacan, was directly connected to this god. Legend says Quetzalcoatl came from the heavens. Some theorists believe the mercury in the pyramid is evidence of a direct link to the serpent god. Perhaps, they argue, this deity was in fact a serpent-shaped flying machine powered by mercury, and its appearance inspired humanity's earliest myths of dragons descending from the sky. In China, Qin Shi Huang was said to be descended from the Yellow Emperor, who himself was the offspring of a celestial dragon. Two cultures, two legends of dragons from the sky, two pyramids filled with liquid mercury. Are these just coincidences, or is there something deeper? Could the megalithic structures of China, India, and Central America really have been landing sites for beings from beyond our world? The question remains unanswered. Top secret. In 1774, the Continental Congress passed a resolution that all proceedings would remain secret until a majority decided to make them public. In other words, as early as the 18th century, the US government officially sanctioned keeping secrets from the public. The Constitution supports this as well. Article 1, Section 5 reads, "Each house shall keep a journal of its proceedings, and from time to time publish the same, excepting such parts as may, in their judgment, require secrecy." World War II was when secrecy truly became the norm. Since then, the number of classified documents has only grown. Every year, US government agencies generate about 90 million classified documents. That's roughly 3 new secrets every second. Yet only a small portion of those receive the designation top secret. This is the classification for information that could cause exceptionally grave damage to national security. It all began with Executive Order 10,290, signed by President Harry Truman in 1951. From that point on, the government established 3 levels of classification: confidential, secret, and top secret. Of those, top secret is the highest tier, reserved only for information that could cause severe harm to the United States. Currently, about 1.3 million Americans have clearance to access top secret information. That's about 1 person for every 350 citizens. With that many people, leaks are almost inevitable. However, there is yet another layer above this, known as special access programs, or sensitive compartmented information. If there is any data about extraterrestrials or an impending catastrophe, it's most likely buried in these little-known files. The Stennin Stone Circle. Near the southwestern tip of England, in the remote region of Cornwall, stands an ancient structure few have heard of, the Stennin Stone Circle. Set apart in the wild landscape, it is rarely visited. There is only the wind and the quiet appearance of wild creatures at sunset. This circle is one of the best preserved examples of Cornwall's ancient stone ring architecture. Of nearly 80 stones in total, 47 are still standing, while 32 have either toppled or disappeared over time. With a diameter of roughly 140 feet, the tallest stone is less than 4 feet high, but even though it is not as imposing as Stonehenge, the circle is wrapped in a persistent veil of mystery. Archaeologists have determined that the circle dates back to the Neolithic period about 4,000 years ago, but no one truly knows who built it, or for what purpose. The first real excavations didn't begin until a discovery in the 1960s, when researcher R.J. Mercer found remains of 8 primitive roundhouses, suggesting a community once lived along the circle's outer edge. They sheltered beneath simple thatched roofs, dirt floors, and towering ancient trees. Stone tools have also been uncovered, along with evidence that about 100 people once lived here. Yet the true mystery of the stone circle has never been solved. Cornwall is home to many other circles, such as Rough Tor, though it is now badly damaged. Many researchers believe these circles were the ceremonial centers of a prehistoric religion. But what rituals took place within those rings, and what did these people worship? Humanity may never know. The Hypatia Stone. The Hypatia Stone is one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in modern science. The story began in 1996, when the stone was discovered in Egypt and quickly suspected of having an extraterrestrial origin. Since 2013, researchers at the University of Johannesburg have examined the stone in detail and confirmed the hypothesis: Hypatia truly comes from outer space. 2 years later, another scientific team conducted nuclear and gas analysis, but their results were even more astonishing. The stone matched neither comets nor meteorites known to science. No one knows exactly where it came from or what materials make it up. Inside Hypatia, scientists found microscopic diamonds. They believe it struck Earth some 28 million years ago. But it is the stone's strange chemical composition that has left all efforts to determine its origin at a dead end. Some theories suggest Hypatia broke away from Mars or Venus. Others think it is coated in unrecognizable cosmic dust. Some even believe Hypatia is a fragment from a supernova, a star that exploded millions of light years away and, over time, sent debris drifting through space until one piece finally landed on our planet. The Flying Frog. In 2013, NASA accidentally launched a frog into the sky. During the launch of the Minotaur 5 rocket at the Wallops facility in Virginia, a frog was unexpectedly blasted into the air by the force of takeoff. One of 3 surveillance cameras captured the moment, showing the small creature with its limbs splayed wide, as if performing a giant leap. NASA later posted the bizarre photo on Instagram. Chris Perry, one of the engineers involved in the launch, told ABC News that the entire team was stunned when they reviewed the footage. No one had expected to launch a frog along with the rocket. Given the heat and pressure of the launch, Chris was certain the frog could not have survived. The blast was so powerful, it even knocked over a camera nearly 160 feet away. Another camera, filming at 6 frames per second, managed to capture the frog in just a single frame, proof of how fast it was hurled skyward. NASA staff searched afterward, but the animal was never found. The rocket, meanwhile, continued its 100-day journey around the moon, collecting atmospheric data. Though not exactly a state secret, the event remains one of the strangest and saddest accidents to ever happen at Wallops, Neuschwabenland, the new land in Antarctica. Like many other countries at the end of the 19th century, Germany was swept up in the race to explore Antarctica. Initially, the motives were scientific, studying meteorology, hydrology, and astronomy. In 1911, an expedition led by Wilhelm Filchner tried to determine whether Antarctica was a single continent, but the mission failed. It wasn't until 1938 that a new team was sent south. What happened next became the center of countless conspiracy theories. Nazi Germany claimed sovereignty over a vast region of Queen Maud land, naming it Neuschwabenland. Some theories suggest they found a crashed alien spacecraft and tried to reverse engineer its technology. Others claim they built a secret military base there, where Nazi leaders fled after the war. However, historical documents suggest their real goal was much simpler: to set up a whaling station and harvest whale oil, an essential ingredient for making margarine and soap. Additionally, Germany considered the area as a potential site for a naval base. Most historians agree, however, that the Nazis never actually established a permanent presence there. Despite claims of sovereignty and surveys, there is no proof they built bases or discovered alien technology. Key Krillin. In Uzbekistan, amid a remote landscape, stands an archaeological site known as Key Krillin. Built around 400 BCE, it served as a ceremonial center for the Afrigid dynasty, who once ruled the vast oasis region called Khwarezm. Most people today know little about the mysterious Central Asian country of Uzbekistan. Key Krillin is an impressive architectural complex, its center marked by a large tower, surrounded by multiple defensive walls and 9 satellite watchtowers. Inhabitants once carved living quarters into the walls themselves, dwelling there year-round. Alongside these fortifications, the site boasted numerous temples and shrines. At the time of its construction, the city was at its height, with irrigation systems transforming wasteland into farmland and merchant caravans bringing in wealth. In 200 BCE, the city was destroyed by the Apaka tribe, but it was rebuilt and continued to exist until about 16 centuries ago, before fading into obscurity. Because of its remoteness, the ruins weren't discovered until 1938. A handful of excavations took place in the 1950s, but since then, no one has returned to study the site. Perhaps the mysteries of Kikrilin are still waiting to be uncovered. The Mountains of Madness. In 1931, writer H.P. Lovecraft penned a chilling story called At the Mountains of Madness. The tale follows an expedition to Antarctica, where scientists discover an ancient alien city buried beneath the ice. They find murals depicting a species that arrived on Earth before humanity existed, creatures who built cities, created life, and then vanished mysteriously. The story ends with terror, as the expedition is attacked by a surviving monster, something beyond human imagination. Though entirely fictional, the story has fascinated readers for generations. Decades later, as real-life explorers began to investigate Antarctica, they uncovered fossils and traces of prehistoric life evidence that the icy continent was once warm, green, and habitable. Satellite images have revealed strange anomalies beneath the ice, fueling rumors of hidden structures or cities. For some believers, Lovecraft's story is not merely fiction, but a warning. They argue that ancient alien civilizations may have once existed in Antarctica, and that humanity is only beginning to scratch the surface of these mysteries. The Mountains of Madness might not be just a product of imagination, they may be a glimpse of something humanity is not yet prepared to face. Mysterious arrivals and departures in the Jordanian desert. At Jabal Kerma, on the edge of the Jordanian desert near the border with Saudi Arabia, archaeologists have found a series of unusual tombs. These graves date from the Bronze Age all the way through the Byzantine period. For years, no one conducted a comprehensive study of the area until recently. What researchers discovered has left the archaeological world baffled. Over the past 4,000 years, this place has been repeatedly abandoned and then resettled, following a mysterious, unexplained cycle. Experts do not know why people kept coming back to and then leaving the same place. Sadly, most of the tombs have been looted, leaving very little archaeological evidence behind. It's thought that ancient inhabitants lived in the lowlands at the edge of the desert, while the wealthy or noble were buried atop barren hills. Yet, very few traces of settlements remain to support this theory. What little evidence archaeologists have gathered points to a history of interrupted habitation. The ancient people left the area in the 3rd millennium BCE and didn't return until the 1st millennium with entirely new communities, new burial customs, and grave goods unlike anything seen before. Medieval assassination weapons. In Bulgaria, archaeologists have discovered an ancient bronze ring with a peculiar design, believed to have once been used to poison rivals in political assassinations during the Middle Ages. The deputy director of the National Archaeological Museum of Bulgaria believes that a tiny hollow inside the ring was designed to hold poison, allowing the wearer to discreetly pour it into a drink without being detected. The only thing scientists have not been able to determine is who actually fell victim to this ingenious murder weapon. Some theories link it to a nobleman named Dobrotitsa, who ruled the area in the first half of the 14th century. But ultimately, no one has been able to confirm if that's the case. The Wolf's Egg Iron. In 1885, in Austria, a small iron object was discovered, known as the Wolf's Egg Iron. The piece weighs over a pound, has 4 flat sides and 2 convex faces. At first glance, it looks like an unremarkable chunk of iron dug from the earth. But what made it famous is its almost perfectly cuboid shape, suggesting it was intentionally crafted. It wouldn't be so remarkable, except for the fact that it was found embedded in a coal seam estimated to be 20 million years old. Initially, scientists thought it might be a meteorite, but that idea was soon dismissed. Its form closely resembles cast iron machine parts, but that's even more implausible, as it lay in fossilized coal formed long before any machines existed. Since the 19th century, the Wolf's Egg Iron has baffled generations of scientists. In 1966, the specimen was analyzed in Vienna. Tests showed no trace of nickel, chromium, or cobalt, ruling out a meteoritic origin. It also lacked sulfur, meaning it was not pyrite. The most logical theory is that, somehow, the object fell into the coal before being discovered, but no one can explain how it became imprisoned so deep inside fossilized coal. Some believe the Wolf's Egg Iron is a leftover machine part from an ancient civilization that once thrived on Earth millions of years before humans appeared, the ancient shoe print. In January of 1917, at a mining operation in Nevada, a worker named Albert E. Knapp found a lump of coal containing a strange detail. While mining a limestone layer dating back to the Triassic period, some 200 million years ago, he stumbled upon what appeared to be the imprint of a shoe heel embedded in the coal. What's remarkable is that only the heel was imprinted. There were no toe marks, no tread grooves, just a smooth underside, as if someone had pressed the heel of a modern shoe into the coal and left a mark. By March of 1922, the New York Times reported that the print was the right size for a 10 to 12-year-old boy. Upon closer examination, people even saw what looked like a seam running along the outer edge of the sole. There's little doubt that this was the impression of a modern shoe, but how did it end up in a chunk of coal, hundreds of millions of years old? It remains one of science's enduring mysteries. Most experts believe it was simply a misunderstanding, or worse, a hoax, because there's no plausible way to explain the presence of a modern shoe print in such ancient rock. The forever forgotten Egyptian labyrinth. In Cairo, the pyramids of Giza and the Sphinx stand tall over the Egyptian desert. But hundreds of kilometers away, at Crocodilopolis, lies another pyramid known to few, the Hawara Pyramid, beneath whose ruins hides one of the greatest marvels of the ancient world. According to the Greek historian Herodotus, the most visited site in ancient times was not Giza, but Hawara, with 3,000 rooms built 2,500 years ago. Herodotus once wrote, "I have seen this wonder with my own eyes. All the works and labors of the Greeks combined are less than the effort and cost of this labyrinth. Even the pyramids cannot compare." His admiration was beyond question. The historian Strabo also confirmed that he saw the labyrinth with his own eyes. Hawara sits at the entrance to the legendary Fayum oasis set, amid the endless desert. Here, Pharaoh Amenemhat III of the 12th dynasty built a pyramid as his final resting place in the 19th century BCE. Amenemhat also built a pyramid for his daughter Neferu about a mile away. Today, Hawara is little more than a bare mound, much of its stone removed over the centuries for local construction. It is believed that beneath this mountain of ash, the great labyrinth still lies buried. Rumor has it that the place holds a vast library containing ancient texts chronicling the histories of lost empires and perhaps secrets from kings of a civilization that predated humanity itself. It's not for lack of trying since the 19th century, Egyptologist Flinders Petrie discovered its foundations. Some experts think the labyrinth was destroyed during the reign of Ptolemy II, when the pharaoh built the city of Shedit as a gift to Queen Arsinoe. Whatever the truth, the labyrinth remains buried deep beneath Egypt's golden sands, still undiscovered. Uruk, the world's first great city. Uruk is hailed as the world's first true city. It rose from the remote lands between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, in the region once known as Mesopotamia. The first bricks were laid around 3600 BCE, more than 5,600 years ago. People began to settle there 4 centuries earlier, drawn by the fertile soil, abundant fish and wildlife, and favorable living conditions. Over centuries, the population grew enough to build a stable community. The first excavation in 1850 uncovered clay tablets with the world's earliest cuneiform script, alongside the remains of temples to the sky god An and the goddess of love Inanna. The people of Uruk were the first to trade in animal skins for sheepskin, wool, and linen. Here, nomads laid the foundations for a society that we still recognize today, with religious leaders, nobility, and powerful kings. 5,000 years ago, the population of Uruk reached 50,000, giving rise to 11 other cities in Mesopotamia. The city was home to stonemasons, blacksmiths, cooks, gardeners, every trade imaginable. In just a single millennium, a tiny village grew into a great stone metropolis, transforming hunters into kings and artisans. Uruk continued to thrive for another 3,000 years before being abandoned around 300 CE and ultimately destroyed in the Arab conquest of 634. Ancestors in the ice. The oldest ancient human DNA ever recovered came from a frozen body, buried deep in an isolated cave amid the Siberian mountains. These bone fragments belong to a now extinct human species known as the Denisovans. Roughly 160,000 years ago, the Denisovans lived in a land of brutal cold and endless hardship. Yet they did more than survive, they thrived. In the 21st century, their DNA was extracted from a single finger bone found in Denisova Cave. Thanks to this discovery, scientists have reconstructed a remarkably complete picture of these icy ancestors. They were closely related to Neanderthals and even interbred with the ancestors of modern humans. Many researchers believe it was the Denisovans who helped ancient humans adapt to survive in frigid climates. Before the cave and its bones were found, no one even knew the Denisovans had existed. They were an entirely forgotten branch of humanity, discovered only because of one curious expedition into a frozen cave. Their story leaves us wondering, how much of human history still lies hidden beneath layers of ice? Helmets made from human skulls. About 2,100 years ago, 2 infants were buried in what is now Ecuador. What makes these graves so strange is that each child was buried wearing a unique helmet, crafted from the skull of another, older child, who had already died. Scientists have absolutely no explanation for this, not even a single credible theory. What makes the discovery even more perplexing is that it's the only known case of its kind. No other culture has ever used a child's skull as a burial helmet for an infant. While the world holds many bizarre graves, the helmet skulls remain one of a kind. The children belong to the Guangala culture, discovered during a 2014 excavation that revealed 11 more graves. 8 infants, 2 adults, and 1 child. All were buried with ordinary grave goods, except for the 2 with skull helmets. Sarah Jungst, an anthropologist at the University of North Carolina, called this an unprecedented funeral tradition. One of the children died at 18 months old. The helmet was the skull of a child aged between 4 and 12. The other case was similar. Traces show these skull helmets were crafted immediately after the older children's deaths and fitted precisely to the heads of the infants. To this day, no one knows what lay behind such a strange custom. The Tartaria tablets. In Romania, a shocking discovery has forced scholars to reconsider the entire history of humanity. A set of clay tablets was found in a grave dating back to around 3300 BCE. What makes these tablets remarkable is the presence of symbols on their surfaces that look like an ancient writing system, even older than any known script from Mesopotamia. If this finding is truly what researchers believe, textbooks worldwide will need to be rewritten. The scientific community is now buzzing with the theory that Eastern Europe, not Mesopotamia, may have been the birthplace of the world's first written language. The 3 tablets were made from unbaked clay, 2 are rectangular, and the third is round, about 2.5 inches in diameter. Each is engraved on just one side, bearing symbols ranging from abstract shapes to what appear to be depictions of plants and animals. Before the discovery of these tablets, the Sumerians were always credited as the inventors of writing, around 3000 BCE. To this day, they still hold that title in history books. Yet these European tablets have become the center of heated debate. In truth, they're not even a new discovery. Back in 1961, archaeologist Nicolae Vlasa and colleagues from the Transylvanian Museum of History excavated them at the Tartaria site, along with human remains, various prehistoric artifacts, and the tablets themselves. Tartaria and its tablets are linked to the Turdosh Vincha culture, a Neolithic people still only partly understood by archaeologists. These people once lived throughout Hungary, Bulgaria, Serbia, and Romania. At the Tartaria site, all the evidence points to a Neolithic burial ground. Alongside the 3 tablets, researchers found small stone figurines, a shell bracelet, and pieces of burned bone. No one doubts the authenticity of these artifacts. So why have the 3 tablets sparked so much controversy? Because they appear to predate the first Mesopotamian writing by nearly 2,000 years, a fact many scholars still refuse to accept. The oldest writing from Mesopotamian clay tablets dates to around 3300 BCE, from the sites of Uruk and Jemdet Nasr. In contrast, the Turdosh Vincha culture vanished about 4 centuries before that time, leaving behind a mystery that has never been solved, their writing system apparently lost to history. The only proof this language ever existed survives on these 3 strange clay tablets. There is no consensus among researchers about their origin, meaning, or even their contents. The symbols on these tablets are older than Sumerian cuneiform and Egyptian hieroglyphs, but to this day, no one has cracked the code. Their surfaces are covered with small, letter-like characters, interspersed with strange images of horned creatures. Scholars are still waiting for someone to finally unlock the secrets of these ancient tablets. The footprints of the Buddha. The footprints of the Buddha can be found all over the world in temples, on mountaintops, carved into rocks and caves, serving as reminders that the Buddha truly walked this earth. These footprints mark a spiritual path for generations to follow, now existing as physical depressions in the ground, shaped over centuries by nature or by human hands. Unlike many gods or religious figures whose existence can't be verified, Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, was a real historical person. One of the largest Buddha footprints in the world is found in Sri Lanka, atop the mountain called Sri Pada Sinhala for sacred footprint. The challenge for scholars is figuring out which footprints, if any, truly belong to the Buddha and which are later creations by devotees. Japanese author Motoji Niwa spent years following over 3,000 Buddha footprints throughout Japan, Sri Lanka, and other Asian countries. Yet no one can say for sure which prints are genuine. One of the most famous is carved into stone at Phra Phuthabat in central Thailand, widely believed to be authentic, though again, no one knows for sure. China too has a giant Buddha footprint created over 1,300 years ago, yet, once more, its true origins remain unknown. What matters is that these footprints have become powerful symbols, inspiring and guiding people on their spiritual journeys. China's nuclear strategy. General Douglas MacArthur, one of America's most prominent military leaders, had a terrifying plan in the wake of World War II. After Japan's surrender in 1945, he went on to lead U.S. forces during the Korean War in 1951, the nation's first proxy war of the Cold War era. At first, American troops controlled the entire peninsula, but when China intervened, the tide of war shifted completely. Furious at the setback, MacArthur proposed an extreme solution: to create a radioactive buffer zone between North Korea and China by dropping 34 nuclear bombs. He didn't stop there. MacArthur wanted to bomb about 50 Chinese cities near the border as well. His goal was to create a dead zone, a no man's land, rendered uninhabitable by radiation to halt the spread of communism. His strategy was based on a list of nuclear targets drawn up by the Pentagon as early as 1940. The plan was never carried out, but it was seriously considered at the highest levels. An ancient language. To this day, scientists still haven't cracked the mysterious script of the Indus civilization in northern India. Across the lands of the ancient Indus Valley, archaeologists have unearthed countless seals, symbols, thousands of short inscriptions, and mysterious characters carved into stone. But after 4,000 years, the true meaning of these writings remains a mystery. This is especially astounding given that humanity has decoded Egyptian hieroglyphs, learned to read ancient Maya, and even cracked the Nazis' advanced Enigma machine in the 1940s. Yet the script of the Indus civilization remains an unsolved puzzle. The Indus Valley was once a brilliant cradle of civilization, located in what is now Pakistan and northwest India. The Indus people built massive cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, with urban planning so advanced that even the modern world didn't catch up until the 21st century. They were remarkably sophisticated. If we could decipher this script, we might gain entry into their unique worldview and discover what they recorded about their lives. The Indus civilization thrived during the same era as ancient Egypt, but vanished mysteriously, leaving behind only scant traces of itself. Scientists still debate whether these symbols are truly a written language or just meaningful icons like ancient emojis that only get more confusing the more we study them. Yet researchers continue to work tirelessly, hoping that someday, if even a tiny part can be decoded, humanity will unlock an entirely new world seen through the eyes of the ancient Indus people. The astonishing history of the Brazil Stone. The Brazil Stone is steeped in strange stories. Legend has it that 700 years ago, explorers from the Mali Empire left it deep in the Brazilian jungle. Some claim this is proof that Africans discovered the Americas long before Europeans, and that the stone is tied to the most famous lost explorer in history. According to Colonel Percy Fawcett, the Brazil Stone was discovered in an untouched region near the Kuluan River. It's a large stone, carved with the image of a nobleman from Mali, very likely a king. He wears a crown, with lines of inscription across his chest and waist. His attire closely matches the uniforms worn by Malian warriors in the 14th century. If this artifact had been found in Africa, it wouldn't be surprising, but the fact that it appeared in the Brazilian rainforest is hard to believe. The story of the stone's origins gets even murkier when you realize that Percy Fawcett, the famed explorer who vanished searching for the lost city of Z, actually received the stone from Sir H. Rider Haggard. Sir Haggard had bought the stone in Brazil, but no one knows who truly found it in the jungle. This uncertainty has cast doubt on its authenticity, but Percy Fawcett always believed it was real. He believed the stone came from one of the ancient cities Portuguese explorers stumbled upon in the Amazon in 1573. In 1977, Dr. Winters published a translation of the Brazil Stone's mysterious inscriptions. It turned out to be an account of a king's death and his final resting place. The king was buried in a tomb near some unknown cave, constructed in the traditional style of ancient Mali. Perhaps that tomb still lies hidden deep in the jungle. But the greatest question is how a West African empire left traces all the way in the South American rainforest. The Mali Empire was one of Africa's mightiest powers, lasting from 1226 to 1670. The most famous Malian king was Mansa Musa, regarded as one of the richest figures in history. That claim may sound bold, but it's actually well-founded. Mansa Musa possessed a fortune beyond measure. Some scholars believe he was the wealthiest person of all time, though no one can truly estimate the value of his holdings. Ancient manuscripts and travelers' accounts agree that Mansa Musa's wealth came from trading salt, gold, and rare goods such as ivory, spices, silk, and even slaves. For Africa, the Mali Empire was as powerful as Rome was for the Mediterranean world at its peak. There's no question Mali was the greatest empire in West Africa, and expansion was always its primary goal. Records state that in 1310, Mali's king Abu Bakari set out to find new lands. His destination may have been Brazil, but the king never returned to Africa to tell his tale. Perhaps he and his expedition did reach Brazil. Such things have happened before. They may have set sail along the Gulf of Guinea, been swept across the Atlantic by the South Equatorial Current, and landed on the Brazilian coast. There, they might have founded a new kingdom deep in the jungle, leaving only the Brazil stone for later generations to find. If you found these mysterious stories fascinating, leave us a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next discovery with us. See you in the next video.